I want to ask a question. I think the general audience would like to know the answer. Let's say I'm just someone who want to pick a really good DeFi protocol, but I don't know all the technical difference. So what are your recommendations on me as an average user, how I should pick the best DeFi protocol for me? Just for an average user.
My answer is very simple. I think DeFi right now is a very wild, wild west. And I think it rewards the very curious people. What it also means is that we're not really at a stage where we can, in my opinion, I can recommend my own protocol. Sure, I do that all the time. But I generally feel like as a user, you just need to try out some of the protocols, try to understand what they're doing, and try to figure out how you like using them. And you should never trust, like, I do this as a DeFi user. I never trust the new protocol with too much of my money, right? So I think it's a lot of trial and error. So I think this whole preference of trade-offs are going to be evident as you're using protocols, right? Because all these protocols have trade-offs. I think as a user, you get to choose depending on your level of, like, how much of an expert user you are, what you're looking for. Is it latency you're looking for? Is it price, slippage, or whatever? Depending on what you're looking for, you're going to find your favorite protocol. But I think the most important thing for a user is to be very careful exploring these protocols. And even for good protocols, it's very easy for things to get hacked. So managing your liquidity and so on, like putting money in, you have to understand the risks. And as long as you understand the risks, you can keep going forward. Now, I do think this narrative is going to change, but I think that's not today. I think today things are still very risky. Today, there's still a lot of protocols coming up, and people still need to understand what they're doing. That's one of the things I don't like about DeFi. Like, it kind of requires you to be a coder to some extent to use it. But, it is what it is right now. So,
Warning.
Huge warning sign, yeah. But once you start using it and you have good products you're using, then it becomes really fun because you're just doing things all over the place and yield farming, and you're trying out crazy products, and sometimes you lose money, sometimes you make money. It's a nice ride.
I think even those professionals or insiders, they lost a lot of money over different protocols.
Myself included, yeah. It's part of the journey. Losing money is fun,
Now for the audience, losing money is not fun. Please keep your paycheck and everything. Save it. Okay. What about you, Alpha? What's your recommendation?
Well, I guess my point is similar. You always need to put safety first. But actually, for most of the people, for the few that are like super tech savvy, you probably can check out the smart contracts yourself. Well, this is like condition on the smart contracts or open source indeed, right? So I think the percentage in this industry of people who can actually check out the smart contract, the code themselves, are very small. So for most of the people, you probably don't have the ability to check out the smart contracts yourself, but then you do need to depend on some of the other signals, factors to assess the safety of the project. So this depends on who audits that the projects and how this thing's presented, whether this project involves complicated technology, because sometimes if something is too complicated, it's more likely that it could have accidents. So that's a rule of not just for DeFi, for everything. Well, you need to be reasonable about what you can expect from a project, right? If something is too good to be true, then it's probably not true, right? So the early stage of the for example 2020 DeFi summer, there are crazy high APYs. Well, but that actually also involves a lot of other risks too, right? And right now, when the DeFi has already become much more mature than the starting stage, so you need to be reasonable about what you can expect from the project. So in insurance, safety is always the first thing that you need to consider about. And when it comes to the product performance, like whether this is lending borrowing or this is a spot exchange or this derivative or this whatever, then you probably would know the good and bad yourselves, because you can know, okay, if this is like lend and borrow, what the interest is, or if this is trading, what's the transaction fee, and what's the slippage is. You can feel that yourself too. You probably don't need our guides. But yeah, I would always say put the safety as the first thing that you consider when you try out something.
Too good to be true, Luna. 20% APY. I'm just kidding.
Olympus DAO was too good to be true, huh?
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, so for my audience, see, like even the two DeFi founders, they will recommend you guys to be very, very safe on the crypto space, because I do agree with you guys. It's still very early. Even the project is founded by great team, great technology, but people make mistakes. And when the technology is too complicated or when it's not executed properly, then there will be problems.